Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Taking on Trek. I'm Joe.
And I'm Dave, and I failed the Kobayashi Maru.
Why the hell didn't you cheat?
It wasn't an option at the time.
You just sucked them, don't you? So what's going on, dude? Anything good?
Not too much. Suffering from this damn plugged ear that I've had for 3 weeks I can't get rid of.
What's been going on with it? Have you gone to the doctor at all, or?
Well, I'm probably going to have to. Probably going to have to slice my eardrum.
Sounds like fun.
Oh, yeah.
So, today we're going to be covering the episodes Unexpected and Terra Nova, but first we'll do...
Oh, wasn't that a failed show on Fox?
Sadly, it is a failed show, yeah. Hopefully, Netflix will actually pick it up and continue it.
Well, it is up on Netflix, but they're not continuing it.
Amen. That's too bad. I thought it was a really good show.
I got 3 episodes in, and I was just like... It stunk.
It stopped watching?
It just stunk for me.
Oh.
Well, your brother liked it. Then again, you know, he's all about dinosaurs.
Yeah, well, I liked it too. Believe me, because of the dinosaurs.
You should have seen your brother when we took him to Dinosaur World.
This is true. So, do you have any news for us?
I'm sorry?
Excuse me, do you have any news for us?
I've only got one story that pertains to, this, subject. We are going to... Not yet.
To this subject.
I was stalling for time because I didn't have my notes in front of me. Shatner talking I am.
Now it's Shatner imitating Yoda. You're getting...
No, just a story I came across that J.J. Abrams had an interview with MTV, more on television, that Klingons will actually be, a definitive role in this new movie. As opposed to in the last movie where we only got to see the Klingons in the deleted scenes. When the Romulans were on their prison world. If anybody, spoilers if anybody didn't know that, in one of the cut scenes in the first Trek movie, the Romulans were captured and taken to the mining prison Praxis. Also, another definitive role, will be Carol Marcus's character. She won't be your normal, love interest type in the movie, but she will be playing, the science officer for the ship. Is believed. Just one of the science officers.
Yeah, I think she's going to be kind of taking a little bit away from Spock. So that way he's just the first officer and not the head science officer yet.
So, well, it says her role is important, but it's not, mainly to be the love interest. As, all Trekkies know, Carol Marcus, it's never actually said that she was a love interest of Kirk's, per se.
I think it's pretty well explained in the second movie.
Well, in the second movie, they got together and she ended up getting pregnant. That's all they gave you. But although, she told Kirk to stay away from him.
Well, sadly, there was actually a lot more written about that in the movies. All of the screenplays after that actually had Carol Marcus in them. The problem is they never actually made it into the screen, or onto the screen. However, if you read the novelizations, the official tie-ins to those movies, there you go. All the stuff with Carol Marcus is preserved in those books. So if you're ever curious as to what happened to Carol and David after all that, before David died, obviously, go read the novelizations, including Generations. Carol is actually in the beginning of that as well. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, go ahead. That's actually my only, Trek-related story I have.
The one I want to cover is we all know that the Blu-rays have been coming out. They've released season 2 recently.
Which I gotta tell you, the quality on them is really well done. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen them at all.
I have seen clips. I don't own a Blu-ray player, so sadly I don't get to watch them yet.
I have to have you over so you can watch, the Encounter at Farpoint.
Well, I know they ran that one in the movie theater, and sadly I didn't get the chance to see it. I am, however, going to be going to see not First Contact. I wish it was First Contact. No, Best of Both Worlds. And this is 5 days after my birthday. Which the movie date is April 25th.
The Battle of Wolf 359.
Yes. Can you imagine that updated on Blu-ray on the big screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's half as pretty as everything else they've done, it should look really, really good.
They should just have a clip in there, watch, where you zoom in on one of the ships and watch Sisko's wife die.
There you go. Here's a prelude to DS9. Now away from that and back to this. And, that's pretty much all I've got. So, should we jump into the episodes for the day? Or for the week? Or for the bye week? Or whatever the hell this thing is. Our first episode will be Star Trek Unexpected.
3 days. You were only there for 3 days and you couldn't restrain yourself.
I'm telling you, Captain, I was a complete gentleman the entire time.
I imagine that's a question of how you define gentleman.
The only female I had any contact with was Alen, their engineer. Other than repairing the reactor, all she and I did together was go into this holographic chamber they've got. She showed me some home movies, simulations of their planet, but I didn't lay a hand on her. There's got to be some way to get this thing out of me without hurting it. Can't you create a surrogate chamber or something?
The embryo has integrated with your pericardium. I wouldn't be comfortable extracting it without more information on the gestation process.
This engineer wanted you to see her planet?
So?
Perhaps the next step would have been to meet her holographic parents. If I'm not mistaken, on some planets, that's a precursor to marriage.
We took a ride in a rowboat. I swear, Captain, nothing happened.
I will let you do the honors of synopsizing this one.
Give me the fun one.
Yes.
Well, for all you ladies out there, this one starts with the captain in the shower. And then the gravity comes off, and he starts floating, all the water starts floating, and it seems that ship systems all over are, running amok. They're going crazy. He calls the bridge. Bridge says, it'll be on any minute. And he ends up falling from, 5 feet in the air.
Hope we didn't catch you doing anything important. No, not really.
Yeah. You thought it was bad falling in the shower at, from a normal, height. He got risen up to, like, ceiling level before he fell.
Yeah, he had to go to sick bay. He thinks he broke his ass.
But, his trip tries to find out what's happening. Apparently there's something wrong with the warp field, and the captain suggests maybe we should turn it off so you can fix it. No, I got this. Trip says, I got this. As a panel explodes behind Archer. And then he calls the bridge. You know what? I think we should turn off the warp engines for now. And then they discover that there appears to be something interrupting their plasma wake, which is causing all the systems to go haywire. Actually, I should point out that before that, they had breakfast. I didn't. Is that what you were laughing at?
Yes.
Yeah. So Paul has warm broth and, tries to get water that turns into, that's just sludge. Comes out of the replicator as sludge. And she's just a frickin' snot when it comes to, her sense of smell.
Yeah, well, they'll start letting that go a little bit fairly shortly.
Yeah, well, I'll have to say, she was a complete and utter bitch in this episode.
Well, it's not so much that she's a bitch, she's a very typical Vulcan.
No, she was worse. She actually, to the point where she actually cracks a joke later on, but we'll get to that later on. To find out what is causing the problems in their wake of their, plasma, the Enterprise decides to ignite the plasma to see what's there. When they do, they find out there's a small cloaked ship in their wake, using, siphoning off some of the excess plasma to fuel their warp core. I forgot what the name of the aliens were. I don't know if you...
No, I actually didn't get the name. Again, they're a one-and-done species, so I didn't really worry about it.
But, they're having engine problems, so they decide, we'll send, good relations, we'll send Trip over. He can help them, because he's doing so well with the engines, on Enterprise right now.
Yeah. No exploding panels or anything like that. Not that it was really his fault, but still.
They're getting ready. There's a 3-hour decompression process just before he can get into the ship. They're prepping him, telling him, they can, synthesize proteins, make any food you want, stuff like that. So Paul's telling him to be diplomatic when it comes to food, which is very ironic because she was just basically putting her nose up at human food earlier. Quite literally, might I add.
Yeah.
After sitting there impatiently for 3 hours, waiting for the decompression, he comes out onto their ship, and to him it is like a bad acid trip. I'm like, he must be thinking he is so high right now.
Oh, yeah.
There's like this really, warped effect, when you're watching the screen.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the aliens race, they are the Zerillians.
Well,
spelled with an X.
Rather than listen and take a few minutes, a little bit to rest so he can adjust to the new environment that he's in, he decides to get back to work. Now, at this point, I'm looking around at the ship myself, and I can't help but think it reminds me so much of Moya. Because, a lot of the parts on the ship are alive.
Which, for those of you who don't know, Moya is the ship from Farscape.
Trip gets to work, but soon after, he has trouble concentrating. He still hasn't adjusted, and he's thinking there's something must be wrong. But Archer convinces him, to lie down, take a nap for a few hours. to get adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
He wakes up, and the Xyrillian engineer is, over him, making sure he's all right, and giving him what they called it their best attempt at water.
Basically, it looks kind of like ice. Yeah. Like chewy ice, basically.
And she's feeding him ice. To which, there's a very interesting side effect. There's a spark between them, quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
Because her fingers are giving off a, small electrical static charge, on his skin. For one, I like the makeup job they did on the Xyrillians. It was really well done.
Oh yeah, they looked great. Looked a hell of a lot better than the other race that was hanging upside down.
Yeah, you actually got to meet them, and the details were really well done.
Yes,
you really noticed them. They get back to work, and they have a little downtime. After fixing the engine, they have a little bit of downtime because they have to wait for something to regenerate. And the Xyrillian engineer, she takes a trip to to their version of the holodeck. It's basically the first holodeck, chronologically in the Star Trek universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
I actually had that as one of my notes.
Yes, that's because we think alike.
Yeah.
Get out of my head.
Nope. It's roomy in here.
Then you get the holodeck. She shows Trip her homeworld. She shows that, the hologram is like really real. You can smell things, taste, touch. And then they get on this boat in the middle of an ocean and proceed to play this game. That's it's a game for,
it's a game
in her
right?
culture, where basically you put your hands in these pebbles, both people, and read each other's thoughts. Well, after a few minutes of this, they end up going back, finishing their job on the engine room. Trip goes home, and everything seems to be all right. The Xyrillians take off, and we go the next day. Trip's eating. They start scratching on his wrists. He sees a small protrusion from his wrist. He's wondering if he caught something over there. So he goes to see the doctor. To which the doctor tells him, you now have a nipple on your wrist because you're pregnant. T'Pol, she really lays into him. You were only over there for 3 days, she says. I said to be diplomatic.
Yeah. Yeah, that entire conversation was just hysterical.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, poor Archer is sitting there trying desperately not to laugh in Trip's face.
Yes. To me, T'Pol, she started to sound a little bit jealous.
Yeah, kind of.
Because he's honestly, he doesn't know how it happened. They didn't do anything. He didn't sleep with anybody while he was over there. He was a complete gentleman. To which T'Pol makes a joke. That all depends on your definition of the word gentleman. That's right, T'Pol made a joke. So we find he gets back to work. He gets a lot of the normal things with pregnancy, morning sickness, really hungry. He tells everybody, keep it between, just the four of us, the doctor, T'Pol, and him and Archer. But he starts getting paranoid, that everybody's looking at him, and saying things. All the while, they're going around looking for the Zrillions again, trying to find out where they went.
Mm-hmm.
They end up coming across their warp trail, and it leads them to a Klingon battle cruiser. You know, really well done in this, you know, because, you don't see a lot of the battle cruisers, you know, anymore in the new Treks.
Yeah, it was really nice to see those.
It's like the first time you ever made, you know, the last time they used the battle cruiser, I think, was Star Trek VI.
I think so. Yeah.
But Archer gives him a call, says, let me guess. You know, actually, he gives him a call and they fire on him.
Mm-hmm.
They fire on him and say it was a warning shot. Careful, you idiot. I said across his nose, not up it. Archer explains, you know, let me guess. You're having problems with your gravity and other systems. He goes, what? You've been watching us? You've been stalking us? He goes, no. You guys got a, you know, small ship. You know, they're harmless. They're in your plasma wake. You know, getting, you know, siphoning off some of your plasma. The Klingons, who are a lot more vicious right now, you know, to say, kill everybody else, bring me the captain. Archer pleads with the guy, don't, you know, you can't kill him. T'Pol ends up, you know, saving his ass by saying, you know, giving a big speech about honor, since it was Archer who saved the Empire from going into a civil war in the first episode. It would be honorable for you to repay that debt by listening to him. And they want, you know, Trip to go with the Klingons, you know, but they don't want Trip to go. They will, says, why do we need to have him come with us, you know, to see their technology? So Trip has to show him, and everybody finds out. You see this small protrusion from the left side of his rib. And the Klingons start laughing at him.
Gee, I wonder why.
They thought originally that he had knocked up one of the aliens when it was the other way around. The Klingons go on their ship. They see the technology for the holograms, for their holodeck, and, you know, they're impressed by it. They don't, you know, they had a recording or a topographical survey of Kronos, the capital city, and it was recreated in that room, and he said he could see his house, and, you know, he liked it. Trip approaches the female engineer and shows her, you know, the bulge in his side, and to her surprise, she says, I didn't think this could happen with your species, but it's young enough where we can transfer it out. And everything gets fixed, and everybody ends up going home happy. And Trip isn't pregnant anymore, and that's, you know, I think that's how it all ended.
Yeah, pretty much.
This was a funny episode.
Oh, yeah.
It was classic Star Trek hijinks.
It was just really, really nice to see them having a little bit of fun with it.
First thing, first thing I just thought was, Trip got date raped.
It kind of did. It was really unintentional, but that's pretty much what happened.
He got date raped, and all I could think was from Clerks 2, hey, fucko. We like to call it interspecies erotica. Because at the end, you got Trip saying, not exactly how I want to go down in the history books. He's the first human being human male to be impregnated.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's just one of those really bizarre episodes, but it's so much fun. Yeah, my first note was actually when they're in the mess hall and they're having the discussion about food. She goes, "Look, I've tried human food." To Paul and Flox, I should say. And to Paul, Flox is like, "Here, you should try this this pancake. It's delicious," and basically shoving it in her face. It's just like she looks at him and, "If you don't move that thing, I'm going to punch you."
I don't know how she has to worry about it. She's a vegetarian, the pancake doesn't have.
Yeah, it doesn't have the meat and everything, but if she doesn't, she told him that, "Look, I've tried their food. I don't like it. Stop shoving it in my face." Can't necessarily blame her for that,
No, but still, the way she acted, she tells Trip to be diplomatic about trying their food when she's, so rude.
Oh no, I understand that.
She's being a hypocrite.
Oh yeah. But on the other hand, I can understand it. But I think it was just kind of her having a little fun with the fact that everybody keeps telling her, "Try this, try this, try this," and then people are complaining, "But I don't want to try it." And she's like, "No, no, 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 try it." It's kind of her being a smartass.
Hell, all she has was broth, and she wanted carbonated water.
Yep. Well, if that's what she wanted, that was what my note was about. It's like, carbonated water. And he goes, "Oh, well, yes, that's exciting." And instead, black sludge, the breakfast of champions.
Looked like really thick old coffee.
Looked like thick old motor oil is what it looked like. Oh my god.
Then you got the Zrillion ship. It was very pretty, the way they designed, they got vegetation growing on the plating and on the floor. Trip, it goes apeshit insane about there being grass all over the floor. You still there?
I'm here. Yeah. I don't know.
You didn't like the design of the ship?
I really did. I just don't have a lot to say about it because you don't see that much of it. Other than the fact that I don't get seizures, and I damn near had one when he was when he was working in the engine room. I can only imagine how badly it affected you.
My equilibrium's off anyway because of my ear, so.
Yeah, so it didn't help much.
But, the holodeck was a nice touch, but the whole thing with getting pregnant, T'Pol really laid into him about that.
It's like I said, that entire conversation is hysterical. 3 days. You only had to keep your hands to yourself for 3 days. He looks at Archer as like, "Captain, I was a complete gentleman the whole time." And she says, "I imagine that there's a question of how you define gentleman."
It was it was a lot more. There was a lot of jealousy, I think, in her voice.
You know what? It wasn't jealousy. She was genuinely having fun at his expense. She really was. And that's why Archer was trying desperately not to laugh, because then they would have just been ganging up on him.
I just want to know what use...
He's like, I consider myself a diplomat from the minute I set foot on that vessel. Well, there was that box of pebbles. Pebbles? Oh, yeah, the pebbles that got me pregnant.
Then that talk they had with him later on about, what if we never find the Zerillians?
Yeah.
We're going to have to raise this kid.
Yeah. Well, he's got nipples popping up on his wrist.
It's my right as a mother. I can have it if I want.
But it's like he's got one, and then suddenly he's got another one, and all I could think of was the count. So what? I have a note here that says one nipple. Dude, nipples.
3 nipples. Oh,
hell no, I'm out of here. Yeah, I almost wrote that, too. But, yeah. And then they get everything fixed, and the Zerillians go on their way, and then they decide to hitchhike again behind the Klingons, which was just a brilliant, brilliant idea.
I don't know who the Klingons are. Actually, they never even ended up getting their warp drive fixed. At the end, they ended up, using their impulse, because Archer said it would take a month for them to get back.
Right. At that point, they were close enough. It would only take them a month. But the fact that Vorak was going to kill them, that's the Klingon's name. He was going to kill them, and then they get onto the holodeck, which had my favorite line of the entire episode.
I can see my house
from here. Yeah. Like, really? Really? You actually got that into Star Trek? But, yeah, which now makes me wonder. I don't remember seeing a holodeck on board of a Klingon cruiser.
No.
Now,
they said they could adapt it to their power matrix. That doesn't necessarily mean that they would put it on the ships, because the ships, are warships. That type of thing would be very distracting on a warship.
Yeah, it was probably brought back to Kronos and used there. But what makes me wonder is, how did we get the technology? Did they share it with us and it just wasn't mentioned, or what?
Maybe. I have no idea.
Does it have to be at least 100 years later, at the very least, before they really started using it?
Yeah, they didn't have... You'd think they'd share it with the people that helped them.
Yeah, well, because the first time we see it used is in the animated series. The first time it's on a starship. It is on the Starship Enterprise during her original 5-year mission, But again,
I didn't catch much of the animated series myself.
It's actually pretty good. It's actually got some really good stuff, but we'll be getting into that in a while. But that's pretty much it for this episode. I don't know if you've got anything else you wanted to mention, but
as long as I don't end up pregnant, by some weird alien, I'm cool.
Yeah. Well, definitely it's definitely a very fun and enjoyable episode. It's the first really enjoyable one since the pilot. Pilot had its hiccups, but what the hell, it was still actually really, really good. So, did you want to score it?
I thought we would wait till the end, but...
Well, why don't we just go ahead? Yeah, we'll wait till the end. Okay.
All right.
Okay. So, our next episode is Terra Nova.
Come in.
It's a transmission, sir. It's the last one anyone made as far as we can tell. It was still in the buffer.
It's Captain Mitchell.
No matter how angry Logan's threats may have seemed,
There had to have been a way of dealing with this other than attacking us. Nearly half the adults are dead, including Dr. Tracy. And everyone else is getting sick, except for the younger children. If they have any chance of surviving, the least you could do is have the Vulcans send a ship for them. But for all I know, they were the ones you talked into attacking us. You wanted Terra Nova enough to do this? Well, it's yours now. But I doubt you'll be very pleased with what you find when you get here.
Mark Logan was the head of the opposition, the ones who were against a second wave of settlers. Supposedly, he threatened to fire at any ship that came into orbit.
The irony is that Captain Mitchell's message never reached Earth. The debris in the atmosphere was too dense.
Now, in this episode, they're looking for the lost colony, obviously called Terra Nova. You have Mayweather talking to Hoshi, and they're going over all the data and everything, and he's really, really excited. He's heard the stories, but they didn't know what the hell happened to these colonists. They know that there were transmissions going back and forth because Earth wanted to send more colonists. The people of Terra Nova didn't want them there. So there were words exchanged. We'll go from there. Turns out an asteroid hit the planet and drove them all underground. We don't find this out till much later, but you know what? To hell with it. The way this episode went, get it out of the way. It's easier to explain what comes, which is Archer, Mayweather, Paul, and who else went down?
Reed.
Reed, thank you. They all go down to the planet, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They find some of the houses and everything, and are basically attacked by an Aborigine tribe.
No, they were not attacked, actually. They were, Reed spotted somebody and followed him into the cave.
Yes, they followed him into the cave, and then they attacked them. Granted, it's because they startled the hell out of them, but still. Now, you'll forgive me if I run into a couple of problems here. Reed gets shot. Everyone else escapes. I'm just going to fly through this because as much as I enjoyed the episode, it really didn't have a whole lot of meat to it. They get into the shuttle pod. They go back to the Enterprise. They grab Phlox, come back down with it being just Archer and Phlox now. They manage to get to Reed. They're about to bring him in when Phlox scans the guest star's mother. I can't remember his character's name, but scans this one guy's mother and says, "Oh, you have lung cancer. You're about to die. Why don't you come up to the ship, even though you don't trust us in any way, shape, or form? Come up to the ship and we'll cure you."
Well, I see that as being, her being an older woman, she does realize that she is sick.
Right. And her son is like, "Well, I don't know." And this kid is sitting there basically calling them liars, saying, "Hey, he's going to gut you. In other words, they're going to kill us. That's what they're here for. They killed our ancestors. They killed the rest of our families. Why the hell do you want to believe these people?" But they took him up to the Enterprise, took care of the cancer, only to find out that they were slowly dying from the water being poisoned. In the meantime, Archer had been going through all of the records and managed to find a picture of the old woman as what would you say she was, 4 or 5 years old?
About.
Yeah, about a 5-year-old little girl sitting on her mom's lap just before the colony was destroyed. And she begins to remember, hey, maybe I am human, because as far as they're concerned, they're not humans. Humans destroyed them. They've been calling themselves Novans ever since. So they get down to they land back at the planet. They're trying to convince these two to get the rest of their tribe together and move to the southern hemisphere of the planet. Where the asteroid hit was in the northern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere was fine. The water was clear. They could live on the surface. They didn't have to be underground. They'd be all set. There'd be plenty of food. they'd survive, they'd be okay. They might even be able to begin to prosper again. And, of course, you've got the older son going, no, I don't want to do this. So they land. They're like, Archer's like, you know what? Screw it. I've done everything I can. We're going to take you home. They get in the shuttle pod again, land on basically the thinnest piece of the planet they could find, by accident, of course, and drop into the caves. Now, I don't know how they got back. Evidently, they had to have sent the second shuttlecraft because when this pod fell, its wings snapped off.
No, because when he was on the phone with the phone, when he used his communicator with Trip, he told him he's going to have to bring a wench or something down to help, because it fell into the cavern, but not that deep.
No,
it was less than 10 feet underground.
Yeah, no, and that's fine, but here's the thing. The pod wing snapped when it fell. So not only were they going to need a winch, they were going to need a shuttle pod just to get it back to Enterprise for repairs. They'd probably need a third one to be able to tow the damn thing back. Because they'd have to, I don't even know if the pods have grapplers.
And there are only two pods, I think, in the ship.
It's either 2 or 3. But either way, the thing would have to be towed back. If you go back and look at that when it falls, when it's facing us, the wing on the right side snapped as it was falling in. So, but anyway, they're like, okay, well, we're going to go and get you back to your cavern, and you can decide from there. And at this point, the mother is convinced the son, hey, they are trying to help us. We are human. We need to do this. They come across the kid who was calling them a liar before, and somehow, in the middle of a cave, this is the part that threw me.
In the middle of an abandoned cave, the caves that they weren't using anymore.
A tree has fallen from nowhere onto this kid. Again, I liked the episode. It didn't say it was perfect. So have to go in, and meanwhile, the Aborigine, the Novan, had taken Archer's phase pistol to show trust between the two of them, which is fine. I can understand that. Climbing down, and he manages to rescue Archer because Archer is slipped and is literally holding on by a couple of fingers. They get down there, and they're trying to lift the tree as the water that was in the floor is rising. It's about to rise over this kid's head. So finally, Archer's like, give me the gun. And he looks at him like, why would I want to do that? He's like, just give me the damn gun. Cuts the log in half. They're able to rescue the kid. And at the end of the day, get them home, move them all to the southern hemisphere, or continent rather, and they go home. And they're mulling over dinner about how, hey, you know, they never found out what happened with the Bermuda Triangle, and they never found
Earhart.
Yeah, Earhart. But we've solved Terra Nova. We found out why Fox canceled the show. I mean, why what happened here, and we were able to save them. And then Archer gives Mayweather permission to do the paperwork. And Mayweather's like, okay. Mayweather, you're an idiot. He just gave you that so he didn't have to do it. Like, how about you do the report since you're so excited about it? That's like walking up to somebody, why don't you slap me in the face because I deserve it?
It's like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. Man, painting this fence is sure fun.
Exactly.
You want to help?
Exactly. And that's it for the episode. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I got a question.
Sure.
Why were they so opposed to having other colonists? It's a whole fucking planet. And they had a ship of what, maybe 80? So how many people was it, did they say?
100, I think.
About 100 people. What's their objection to having, more colonists show up?
That you know what, I really don't know. I honestly didn't understand that part myself. But I think it's because they had been there for so long, they had settled in. They were happy the way things were. They were still learning about the planet. They still weren't sure how much space was there.
They spent most of their time in space because they said it had taken 9 years to get there.
Right, and I think that's the other reason is they were such a tight-knit community that they really didn't want outsiders. Don't agree with them. That makes no sense. The whole point of them getting there was to find out if it was safe to send further colonists.
You forgot to mention too what it was that was poisoning their water and the ground above was radiation from the fallout with the what do you call it when the asteroid hit.
Yeah, I thought I said that. I apologize. Yeah, no, the ground supply is. Yeah, the water is. I don't know. The whole asteroid thing seemed to be a little convenient, but the thing is they genuinely thought it was Earth that had attacked them. So of course they told all the kids, "Hey, anybody come here from Earth, they're here to kill you." So you've got now 2 generations of people living underground, thinking that all humans are bad, not even realizing that they're humans by the end of it. What else?
Which was kind of stupid too, because their parents didn't go. I think it was their parents didn't go with them. I think it was just the kids that survived and went down, and then ended up growing up. Because I think Phlox said that the children have a natural immunity to the radiation that had come over them.
Right, but you got to remember that that one woman who was a little girl when it happened, she would remember the humans as doing this, and she just genuinely forgot what the hell she was. And they're basically teaching people that anybody from Earth is evil now. So, of course, the first thing they do, they see something or someone from Earth, kill it. We don't
kill the fire.
We don't
arms. They were actually using guns.
Yes.
I'm surprised those guns worked after so long.
Well, they probably kept them in order somehow. But yeah, no, yeah, I did like the guest star, Eric Avery. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I liked him ever since the first time I saw him personally was in the original Stargate movie back in '94.
Yeah.
Basically, he was Daniel's father-in-law.
Yeah.
In because he continued to play the character in SG-1 a few times.
He was. I liked his character a lot, because he was very friendly, but also very naive at the same time.
Right. He would. I liked him because in this he was genuinely being protective of his people. He wasn't being an ass. He wasn't like, no, we're gonna kill you now immediately. He's like, why are you here? What do you want? Get your man, get out. We don't want you here. But he wasn't being a dick about it. He was genuinely concerned for everybody around him, and I like that.
Now the younger kid was being the dick about it.
But that was the whole point. We knew something was going to happen to him because you were going to have to find a way to get him to believe that you're not to hurt somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it was a very predictable, type of episode. It had been done. A similar, premise had been done before in the original series.
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll get to later, But it wasn't all that exciting for me.
No, it was. it wasn't a very exciting episode, but I think it was actually, again, it was much better. These two episodes were both much better than the last two episodes we watched.
That I will agree with. We don't have Hoshi whining and bitching.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not a problem with Hoshi. It's the way she's being written right now. Which is that's the problem.
Yes, I can't wait for Empress Hoshi.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Down boy.
There is a little bit of a conversation that I did like, where you've got Tucker, Archer, and T'Pol having dinner, and they're like, and they keep asking T'Pol, "Well, have you heard of this person? This person?" No, us Vulcans haven't really studied human history. And Trip's like, "Oh, well, that's funny. We were." The conversation is, I'm not familiar with the early years of human space exploration. Trip is like, really? Every school kid on Earth had to learn about Vulcan expeditions. So just one.
History wasn't my best subject.
Because history was never my best subject. Yeah, and Archer's like, douche.
Well, I liked at the end when they're mentioning, Mayweather was mentioning Amelia Earhart.
Yes.
Who ends up showing up in Voyager.
Yep. Many moons from now.
Yes. We end up, finding out what happened to her later on.
I do think it was a pretty cool little
nod to that episode.
Yeah. Without it being a nod to that episode, because you got to remember that was filmed before Enterprise.
Well, I actually didn't have many notes at all, period, for this episode, because it was a pretty straightforward episode.
It was. It was a straightforward. It's not a bad episode. I can't really call it a filler episode, but it didn't do a whole hell of a lot either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
they went down to find somebody. They found somebody. They had a little bit of conflict, and they solved their problems in the end.
Exactly. And like I said, at the end of the day, enjoyable episode. Nothing great, nothing wonderful, but it was fun. That's what I want out of a Star Trek episode. I don't want a slog. Like the last two episodes. Oh my god. All right. And would you like to place your score on Unexpected?
I'm going to give that one, I'd say a 4. It was really enjoyable. Funny. There wasn't really anything wrong with it. Other than, it was more of a, screw that. I'm giving it a 5. I liked it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I can't go that high on it. I really can't. I enjoyed it, but yeah, it's no way that this is a perfect episode. I'm giving it a 3.5. Yeah. It's fun, and there really isn't anything wrong with it. But again, there's still not a whole hell of a lot going on either.
Well, fun episodes are what remind me of, like the original series. A lot of those were always fun.
Oh, exactly. But and you know what? I take back the 3.5. I will give it a 4.
Yay!
4. But it sure as hell is not a perfect episode by any stretch of the imagination. I couldn't go that far. Okay, and for your score for Terra Nova.
I'll give that one a 3.5 because, like I said, it was your basic, just basic episode, We show up somewhere, we do something, we, have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give it a 3 because it's pretty much an average episode. I pretty much agree with everything you said. It's there. It's an enjoyable episode. Like I said, it's not a skip it episode by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not one that you feel you have to watch either. Okay, and if that is it, Dave, would you like to give them the information on where they can reach us?
Well, there are a couple of places you can reach us. You can reach us at wobblypod@yahoo.com, or you can check us out on our Facebook or Twitter page at wobblypod.
Hello?
Yes?
Oh, sounded like you died for a second.
Not yet. I'm standing up. You would have heard me fall.
Damn it. I mean, good. I'm glad to hear that. All right. And our episodes for the next show, we will be covering Star Trek Enterprise, the Andorian Incident,
Woohoo! I love Andorians.
Breaking the Ice. Now, my name is Joe.
And I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next time on Taking on Trek.